Hi everybody, Rochelle here from Quebec, Cichlid. Today, I'm trying something a little different. I'm gonna take you on a little tour of what I do in the Cichlid Hatchery at my store. So in my very first video, I presented to you all my aquariums in the back store. I renovated them in 2016 to make them a lot easier of access for me, because before they were all, like I had 75 gallon next to 30 gallon, it was impossible to just manage the fish. So here's what I do in my everyday life. I'm not just a YouTuber, and usually my ideas, they come when I'm taking care of my fish, because you can't talk about fish if you don't know fish. So this is what I do. So today I'm not gonna feed the fish. They've already eaten. I have somebody to help me out with that, because frankly, I would not have the time, because whenever I feed the fish, I look at everything. I look at their health, should they be moved, everything, and it takes too much time out of my day. So I have somebody to feed them, and then I just pass behind them and take a look at the fish, see how they're doing. So now we're at that point. So I already started yesterday, actually. I have a lot of work, a lot of backlog to do. And yeah, so I'm gonna start by moving the cichlids. Let me show you my equipment. So for today, I have my buckets, nets, ton of nets. I have my pad, because I have to write where they go. And I have a little milk carton to just move the water around. I have to write names and a lot of water, because it is crazy hot in here. So in order to properly manage this section, I have an Excel sheet that I built a couple of years ago. And on it, I have all the management from the hatchery section. So when a female is holding, as soon as I see her, I write her in the Excel sheet, and with the date that I saw her first, and if she's isolated. And after about 2 weeks, I know when it's been 2 weeks, because it's written on my Excel sheet, I check it out. And I can isolate her. So now I have a lot of little babies to move. So let's go move them. Let's see what this is about. So we're gonna start off with the lemon jakes. So I have a breeding colony that I got recently. This is my newest colony in the store. Actually, no, I'm lying. I have another colony that's newer, but they didn't breed yet. Actually, I showed them to you in one of my shipments. The female was holding, but she ended up swallowing her babies. Who would have thought that spending a couple days in bags would make you lose your babies? So, I keep my fish, let's show you. I keep my fish in isolation boxes. In this aquarium, I have 3 beautiful males for 5 females. In this one, there's actually a holding female. I'm not gonna spend too much time. She's in her little hiding spot. I always put a hiding spot. And in this one are the little babies with a bit of extra food. Sometimes I have to siphon the food out because there's a little too much. But look at this little guy. He's getting fat. Oh, bad focus. Oh, poor little guys. We're gonna go disturb them during their meal. Ideally, we don't disturb the fish during their meal, but sometimes the timing just doesn't work. So this is what we're doing. I have air stones that are connected to my main pump, the one that almost broke in the big power outage last year. So I'm just gonna put this for the female. She's technically okay. She doesn't have one in her bucket because she has the water from the aqua clear that's coming in. But the babies, they didn't have that water. So let's gather our little babies. All right, so lemon jakes. Let's see if I can get a better shot. There we go. All right, just grab these little guys. So a big important part of my job is learning not to squish fish against the wall. They're so fragile. So I just go with my hands to sort of move them into the net so they don't get hurt. There's always a little bit of rocks in there. All right, so we're done. So we're just gonna take this back out. And then we also have to check, actually I'm taking it out, but we also have to check if there are any females holding. Because it's not just about moving the babies, it's also about moving the females. Actually, I have a huge rack for these things. Put this back. All right, it was right there. Okay, just a little quick glance here. They don't see, now they're all opening their mouth. Oh, let's go see. There is a female holding, so I'm gonna have to write her down as holding it. Here she is. Oh, all right. Well, that was just fast enough to see her. I leave my fish in their little isolation tanks for maybe 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the time I have. And it really depends also on how early they were hatched, because sometimes they are born too early and they still have their little bag. I don't know the word in English, it's sac vitalin in French. So since they still have their little bag, I have to leave them in a little longer, and I have to put a lot more bubbles. Usually people will put them in an egg tumbler, but I don't use those, I just use bubblers instead. So lemon, Jake. Yeah, I'll put an A so that people know it's Alonokara lemon Jake, because there's so many lemon Jakes, right? So once I'm done with these, I'm gonna put them in some 5-gallon tanks, and when they grow big enough, they're going in some bigger tanks, some, I wanna say 10 to 20 gallons. Honestly, I can't remember. I think it's 10 and 20 gallon tanks. I'm so bad, I really should have known this. Let's close these up, these makeshift tops. You can't have everything right when you have 200 aquariums. And the rest of this row is especially growing fish. I don't have a lot of breeding that's ready. I have a 90-gallon tank with Sirtocara murai, the blue dolphin cichlids that are still growing out. So it's mainly that. In here I have it seems to be a 100-gallon tank as well, or 90-gallon. This one has weird proportions. And these are some Sinotilapia SP Lion that are way too ready. I have to bring these in front. So that's part of my job as well, to bring the fish in the front when they're ready. So I'm done with this row. We're not gonna set up the lemon jakes right away. We're gonna keep working. So they're gonna come with us. I brought you in a row earlier that I've already started to work on. So basically what I do, I look at every one of my aquariums and see if there are females incubating, and if they are, I note them, and that way I'm able to just follow their progress, especially with the Excel sheet. That helps a lot. So now we're actually in a season where, well, there's a little bit less breeding. Well, season this week, there's less breeding because, and actually now I'm in the harvesting mode. So all of my fry, I have to harvest them. So my next one is my Sinotilapia zebroid. I honestly cannot say it in English. Don't try the Afras. They changed the name recently in the past couple of years. It's now zebroid instead of Afra. All right, so there's this little female with a bump on her head, so isolation will do her good. Here's a male that's getting pretty aggressive. It's not the main male. Here's my main male. Hidden in the bushes. Yes. So all zebroid are different. Every single one, like they all look similar. They all have this shape, the blue with the black, other than the lions. And this one has a lot less yellow on his dorsal fin. It's more some white. In this tank, I also have a bunch of little babies that have grown, and wow, they're getting fat. Oh, you can't see it. There we go. So I am gonna have to get these out as well and put them in another aquarium. These are probably big enough to bring in the store section. So especially this little guy, I mean, he's not one of my breeders. I don't know what happened. I was able to get you all the way up here. I have a nice table I got my tripod on. All right. So I'm gonna start off with the babies in the isolation tank because it's so much easier to fish in the big aquarium when there's no isolation tank in your way. If you're wondering where I'm always putting these caps, I'm just putting them on the aquarium next to it. That's what happens when you have aquariums everywhere. You have tables everywhere as well. All right. Let's do this. I'm gonna take this isolation tank out and I can't use it anymore. I'm gonna have to fix it. I just used silicone and the net broke. So if ever I put another one, the babies might come out. So, well, we're gonna do that later, but I'm not gonna film this. I just put silicone and let it dry. And all my others are broken as well. So I'll probably take the time to fix those too. They're all cracked. So step 2 in this tank, so this tank is gonna have 3 steps. The step 2 is to take out the extra babies, the ones that I wanna bring in front because they're a lot bigger. It's written lemon Jake. Yeah, we're not gonna use this one. Whoops. These are gonna be some really expensive mbunas if I identify them as lemon Jakes. So there only were 2 big babies in the aquarium, and they are definitely going in the front section. I'm not gonna make them grow anymore. They don't need to grow. They're 2.5 inches. All right, now where is this female? I'm gonna give them some I'm gonna give them some Melafix later, just because to help heal her little spot on the head. These are mbunas, they fight all the time, so. So while I'm up here, I just check out the other aquariums, see if there's any breeding whatsoever. At the moment, there isn't, so we're just gonna head off to the next row and see what there is there. So in this last row, I have 3 aquariums with things that are happening to them. First of all, it's a treat. I just got a new colony and new fish to add to my colony of Pundamilia Nairi Ruti Islands. They were getting old. They were pretty old, so I had to get a new male. Mine eventually passed away. He was quite the Starbuck in his days, but this new one is doing quite a good job. He already got 1 female pregnant, and come see this. She just spit her babies out. So let's go see the new ones. So her little fry are there. I'm not gonna take them out since they just got here. And big mama, it's actually a little mama, is still, well, she's hiding. You can't see her. Our goal is to take her out. And we're gonna move this a bit away from the circulation because I find it quite strong. Sometimes the babies, they're not good swimmers. All right, so well, since we're taking her out, let's go see her. Hello. She's already all terrified, so I just go with my hands to take her out. Okay, I am putting this camera down. It's not working. Let's take a look at this colony. I have my old Labidochromis red top Kimpuma. They have not been breeding for a little while, unfortunately. And my brand new ones. This female looks pregnant. This is the one I just put back in. Whenever I put them back in and they just spit, they're always big. And check out this male. It's my new guy. I was able to get my greedy hands on him. Wow, that's a lot of algae. And my beautiful male. I have to get him some females because they are getting old. I'm gonna need to update. This is my next colony that I'm updating because nothing's happening with them. I'm just enjoying the beautiful fish. Oh, this is my female. She used to breed a lot. And holy sh**, is she pregnant? Ah, where is she? Where'd she go? Is this her? Okay, false alarm, everybody. I thought she was pregnant. Look at her. She's all got a big mouth, but it's open. Gonna have to look into this. So the female's not pregnant. So the babies, I'm not gonna take them out because they just were born. So I'm gonna leave them a good week in here. Let's go to the next one. The two next aquariums are on top. I have, let's see what I can do to get you up there. So here we are on top of the world in my Tilapia SP Lion tank. You saw these earlier in the growing tank. And well, now I just started, I got two batches here of little babies, and I have a lot in the tank as well to pick out. Obviously, I don't pick out the big ones in the tank all the time. I let them grow to about 2 inches. That way they're a lot easier to pick up. I also have a third isolation tank. This is, she's not pregnant. It's a female who had a very bad week. So I isolated her, giving them some Melifix, fattening her up. I'm gonna put them both, I have two isolation tanks, but they're both going in the same bucket because they're the same size. They were born a couple days apart, but I still let them separated just so that they have more room to grow. So let's fish these little babies out. Look at all those babies. Now that the babies have all been harvested, I'm going to get out all these fish that are growing with the adults. Like I said, I like to let them go a little longer so that they get big, but I think in this case, they're pretty big. I think I let them go a little too long. All right. This is just what I do in my life to breed the fish, get the fish that are in the store. So these are the fish that are growing. They're a good 2 inches. I'm going to bring them to the front. This is another one. This little male, he's not one of my breeders. He is so coming in front with me. Look at this guy. Oh, he is so coming out. There's way too much attitude in here. You know what? I'm gonna take all the decorations out because I don't have the patience for this. I am a very patient woman, but I'm gonna take these out. It's not gonna bother the fish. And then I'm gonna put them back in. Et voila. Okay, let's go. So I got a pregnant female here. I'm gonna just isolate her, while I'm at it, right? So there were only 3 babies, and I isolated my little female in her bucket, and I'm just gonna put her right back in the aquarium. let's set up this aquarium again. I mean, that's, the stuff was heavy, so I'm just gonna go one at a time. There you go. Aquarium 2 is set right back up. Oh, they must like their new rocks, and the fact that that really rough fish was gone. You must love that too. I have a holding female in her isolation tank. Yay! And my little broken female with the little sign in French saying she's not pregnant, feed her. Because when they're pregnant, we don't feed them. Check out this haul that we got. So we have the babies, 2 batches of babies in here, and look at these little guys. They're huge. They are going to the front section for sure. So I know I said I had 3 tanks in this row. Turns out it's only 2. In the third one, it's my OB peacocks. And it turns out that I thought she had spit the babies out, but she didn't. So we'll just keep waiting. Go check. Let's go see her though. So there she is, just waiting, brooding with her little babies. My tank, I got a bunch of new additions to the tank. That's why there's a lot of smaller fish in there. Before there were only 4 females and they were not breeding a lot. The addition of new males really brought out the breeding in the aquarium. There's competition now. This little guy, you see his fins all broken up because he has got some attitude to go with that punk look. And it's working. All right, so fishing out the babies from their little isolation tank, that was the first step. Now I have to acclimate them in their new aquariums. I always acclimate with the drip method because the water parameters are different from one aquarium to the next. And even in my aquarium, in my store, all my aquariums are separated. So each and every tank has different parameters. pH is a little higher in one than the other, the GH, it's all different because, well, even if the pathology we use for the products is correct, well, sometimes there's a little more, a little less. Nobody's perfect. So before we do that though, in this section, my section where I keep all my little babies, I also have some breeding. So I have a female of my Haplochromis SP Ruby Green that is about to burst. First things first, I have to fish this little lady out and put her in a little isolation tank herself. I'm afraid that when I'm gonna be trying to fish her out, that she's gonna spit out the babies. So I'm gonna try to get a good angle, because if it happens, I want you guys to see it. So lucky for us, the little female, she did not spit in her isolation tank, so she still has them in her mouth. I probably would have preferred her to spit them out for the show, and well, just because that way she can go back with her friends and start eating again. Oh well. And she is just looking out the window and pondering about her life choices. This is my male. Woohoo! So after this video, I'm gonna put a little bubbler in her tank so that the water circulates. If the water doesn't circulate, it gets stagnant, it's no good, it gets polluted, the fish, her health will be at risk. So now we can acclimate the fish without worrying about our female spitting while we're working near her. So, whew. It's just a weight on one side and a valve on the other to gauge the drip. It's really simple, just siphon it out. So I'm gonna put a timer on and let these acclimate for a little while, and then we're gonna go and put them back into the aquarium. Once that's done, I think I'm gonna be done for today. I'm gonna take it easy. So basically, I showed you the first part. So the taking out the fish from the isolation tanks and bringing them in these smaller aquariums. I mean, these bigger aquariums. So that's the first thing we do. And once they've grown, we have to move them from these aquariums, the aquariums right here. And once they've outgrown these, I bring them to 75-gallon tanks. And that's where they get growing a lot. The mbunas, I grow them up to 2 inches and then just ship them right to the front of the store. As for the peacocks, I bring them to Richards, who's our associate, and he grows them in 75, 95. He has a couple 125-gallon tanks as well, and he grows them out there. So this is it. I also have some Tanganyika that I wasn't able to even start. I'm probably going to do that. I usually do that when I'm in the bigger fish, so I take the smaller fish out because the Tanganyikans, the Julidochromis in our case, they keep the babies with them. Sorry, I'm doing the thing where it's like they're holding in their mouth. They don't hold them in their mouth. They're sand. They put their eggs on the sand, and the fish grow out in the tank with them. They are good parents in comparison to Lake Malawi. So I leave them in there, and when they're big enough, I take out the decorations and just gather all the fish in their tank. And I mean, I have some in here that are about 2 inches that should be going to the front, and some that are a lot smaller that'll be going in these tanks to grow a little more. So basically what I'm showing you is that if you want to have a big operation like I do, it takes a lot of work. It's extremely tedious because you always have to be right on. You have to look at your fish. You have to know every tank, every fish, and I have at least 4 tanks per species that I choose. I have the main parent tank, and then I have 1, 2, sometimes I have 3 or 4 smaller tanks because I don't put them all in the same small tank, even if I have, let's say, 4 or 5 batches, because they won't grow as fast. So I put them separated. So I put them, you need smaller tanks, bigger tanks. I mean, you probably could do, if you wanted, with just one size of smaller tanks. In my case, this is what I chose to do because sometimes in the extremely small tanks, I put them, and especially for the Haplochromys ruby green, they are tiny when they get out of there. They're this big. So in the 20-gallon tank, they'd have trouble eating. I'd have to probably put them in an isolation box just in their aquarium until they're big enough. So that's it. That was a day in the life of Richel's job as the manager of the hatchery section of my store. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, I have plenty more. Subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell icon to get a notification every time I post a new video. I post new videos every Thursday. If you like this video and want to see more about what I do in my store, because my job, as I said earlier, is not just a YouTuber, I also take care of fish. So if you want to see more of this, please let me know and I'll see what I can do. I always love new and different ideas. Also, don't forget you can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, where I post beautiful pictures. And I also have a website where you can shop online and see all the fish I have for sale. I update the list as often as I can, and I ship throughout Canada. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.